Ajnanamagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, good morning. We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 16 by the word spoken by Kardama Muni as he is seeing the Lord. The Lord has appeared before him after his 10,000 years of sacrifice and austerity. So Vishnu has appeared before him and he's begun his prayers to Lord Vishnu. So we're on text 16 of chapter 21. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Alright, I'm going to share my screen. Please confirm you can see it and it's large enough. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Prajapateste vachasadhistantya loka kilayam kamahato nubaddha aham cha lokanugato vahami balim cha shukla nimishaya tubhyam. Say it again. Prajapateste vachasadhistantya loka kilayam kamahato nubaddha aham cha lokanugato vahami balim cha shukla nimishaya tubhyam. Word for word, Prajapate, who are the master of all living entities, they of you, Vachasa, under the direction, Adhish, O my Lord, Tantya, by the rope, Lokaha, conditioned souls, Kila, indeed, Ayam, these, Kamahata, conquered by lusty desires, Anubaddha, abound, Aham, I, Cha, and Lokanugataha, following the conditioned souls, Vahami, offer, Balim, oblations, Cha, and Shukla, O embodiment of religion, Animishaya, existing as eternal time, Tubhyam, to you. Translation. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you, who are eternal time. So purport, there are 3 paragraphs here. In the Katha Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Lord is the leader of all living entities. He is their sustainer and the awarder of all their necessities and desires. No living entity is independent. All are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Vedic instruction is that one should enjoy life under the direction of the Supreme Leader, the Personality of Godhead. Vedic literatures like Ishopanishad direct that since everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, One should not encroach upon another's property, but should enjoy one's individual allotment. The best program for every living entity is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and enjoy material or spiritual life. You can enjoy material life too. A question may be raised. Since Kardama Muni was advanced in spiritual life, why did he not ask the Lord for liberation? Great question. Why did he want to enjoy material life in spite of his personally seeing and experiencing the Supreme Lord? It's a little confounding. The answer is that not everyone is competent to be liberated from material bondage. It is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy according to his present position, but under the direction of the Lord or the Vedas. The Vedas are considered to be the direct words of the Lord. The Lord gives the opportunity to enjoy material life as we want, and at the same time he gives directions for the modes and processes for abiding by the Vedas so that one can gradually be elevated to liberation from material bondage. The conditioned souls who have come to the material world to fulfill their desires to lord it over material nature are bound by the laws of nature. The best course is to abide by the Vedic rules that will help one to be gradually elevated to liberation. Last paragraph. Kardama Muni addresses the Lord as Shukla, which means the leader of religion. One who aspires should follow the rules of religion, for such rules are prescribed by the Lord himself. No one can manufacture or concoct a religion. Religion refers to the injunctions or laws of God. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that religion means to surrender to him. Therefore, one should follow the Vedic regulations and surrender unto the Supreme Lord, because that is the ultimate goal of perfection in human life. One should live a life of piety, follow the religious rules and regulations, marry, and live peacefully for elevation to the highest status of spiritual realization. I'll read that last statement again, it's important. One should live a life of piety, follow the religious rules and regulations, marry, and live peacefully for elevation to the highest status of spiritual realization. Interesting. It's very interesting that our Vedic teachings, our Bhakti Yoga teachings, very often in the Bhagavatam, repeatedly in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, even in the Bhagavad Gita, that the disease of the conditioned soul is to enjoy. But he qualifies it, that it's the disease of the conditioned soul is to enjoy separate from Krishna. What we find here, like almost 6 times Prabhupada writes in the purport, I'll show you, he says, one should enjoy life under the direction of the Supreme Leader. One should enjoy one's individual allotment. Enjoy material or spiritual life. Right? So that's just in the first paragraph. Then he continues to say, enjoy material life. To enjoy according to his present position. And then towards the end also is there, one should, somewhere here it says enjoy again. I don't see it right now. But the point being, our disease is to enjoy separate from Krishna. And in this verse and purport, we see Kardamuni's example that Prabhupada comments on, that one should enjoy under the direction of Krishna. So actually life is meant for enjoyment. And, one might think, especially in the early parts of their spiritual journey, that spiritual life is meant for negation. Negation of enjoyment, negation of celebration and fun. When in reality, actually spiritual life is joyful. Susukam kartum avyayam. Pratipadam purnamrita swadanam. At every step, spiritual life is meant to be fun and enjoyment. But very different than material kind of enjoyment where we are trying to enjoy in relation to Krishna. That is the key point. So back to the verse here. Prajapates te vachasadistantya loka kilayam kama hato nubaddha. So Karna Muni just requested the Lord, may I please, by your mercy, have a samashilam, a similarly qualified or like-minded, similarly tempered, like a temperament, similar temperament wife. He's looking for that. And so he's saying here in the first two lines of the verse that the Lord is the leader of the living entities. Tantya, by rope, by the rope of his direction, living entities, indeed, kila, indeed the living entity, the jivas, who are kama hata, very interesting word. Kama means lust or material desire. Hata, or hato here, hata means to be killed. They're overwhelmed by material desire. They're killed by material desires. They're enchanted by material desires. The word for word says they're conquered by lusty desires. Anubaddha, so they're bound by these lusty desires, and by your direction they move about in life. So in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says the same thing, right? Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani jantra rudhani maya. So even the most despicable people in this world, despicable in the sense that their behavior is especially bad, are controlled and directed by the Supreme Lord within to fulfill their nefarious desires. So that is Krishna's position. He's Prajapati. He's the leader. Praja means living entities or jivas or offspring. Pati is Lord. So he's the Lord of the leaders. He's the ultimate leader. And then the next two lines of the verse, Aham cha lokanugata vahami. Here we see Karna Muni being very vulnerable. I too, Aham cha, I too, I'm following the rest of the populace who are bound by karma, bound by material desires, and I've come to you. Oh Lord, I'm making this offering to you and I'm praying to you for a wife. I was just at work yesterday and we were joking with one person who, there were three of us sitting on a table, all of us are married, one of them was not, and he said he's not married, he's close to 30 years old. And so I was joking with him, there are two people in this world. One, those who are married. Two, those who are happy. So he was laughing. So we see here that Karna Muni is actually requesting for a wife. Now how to understand this? He's such a great personality, way more qualified than any of us. Deeply devotional, the son of Brahma. Karna Muni wanted to pray and do all this austerity for 10,000 years. Sometimes to look for a wife or a spouse or a husband or something like that, any kind of partnership, alliance can be very austere, right? You put together biodata, try to figure out, okay, how do we meet new people, express our vulnerability that we are looking for a match. Sometimes love marriage, people go on dates and it can be very tiresome to woo another person. Those are austerities in one sense to get a partner. But when we see the life of Kardan Muni, he performed 10% of his life, 10,000 years in the age Satya Yuga, 10% of his life he invested in performing austerity to pray to the Lord to get a wife. Phew, that's intense austerity. How to understand this? Even because he's supposed to be very elevated. And Prabhupada's question is a key question, is he's seeing the Lord right in front of him, experiencing the Lord, he's seeing him. When Dhruva saw the Lord, and he was motivated by material desire, when Dhruva saw the Lord wanted to give him material benedictions, wanted to make him the king of the world, and Dhruva said, please no, I was in illusion, I was looking for broken pieces of glass, and now I have you, such a wonderful diamond, I don't want any of that stuff. So Dhruva had such a change of heart when he actually saw the Lord face to face. We see Kardan Muni is asking to have a wife. How to understand this? The way Prabhupada explains it in the purport is that some persons are not eligible for liberation. They're not in the space to, say, 100% dedicated to spiritual life or dedicated to Krishna. I'm not ready for giving Krishna my all. And so for such persons, a gradual progression on the path of material elevation along with spiritual development is recommended. But there are a couple other ways to look at this. Number one is we see that Kardan Muni has a natural humility. Because elevated Vaishnavas, they see themselves as fallen, conditioned souls. So Kardan Muni is in that very humble space saying, I'm just following the rest of the population who are driven by material desires. In fact, this kind of humility we see, very same words actually, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsimhadev. When he's standing in front of Nrsimhadev, Prahlad Maharaj says, Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe kamabhikama manuya prapata prasangat. He's telling Nrsimhadev, kamabhikama manuya prapata, that I was just following Anu. Same word Anu is here also. I'm following the general populace who are driven by material desires. And I'm falling into a deep dark well full of snakes. Of course, then Prahlad says, Kritvatmasat surashina bhagavan grahita soham katam nuvasuje tava bhritya sevam. That somehow or the other, yours, dear devotee, Narad Muni, infused within me spiritual qualities. And so because of those spiritual qualities, I now am getting this opportunity to be right in front of you. And how can I leave Narad Muni's service? He was feeling so grateful to Narad Muni. So this is a natural humility of Kardan Muni that is coming here, that is being surfaced. But behind, the natural humility is actually the order of service. He's got service that's been given to him by Brahma that he needs to create progeny. That's a service. To bring about creation, children. So you can't really bring about children without a wife. So when he's asking for a similarly tempered or like-minded wife, he's requesting, please facilitate my service to Lord Brahma, my father, and to you, because Brahma was instructed by you. So one can see this as material, or one can see this as completely spiritual. He's asking Krishna for facilitating his service to Krishna. That's one way to understand it. The second way to understand it is that he has Vatsalya Bhav. He has this bhava or this mood of being a parent. Just like Vasudeva and Devaki, or Sutapa and Prishnigarbha, and so Prishni, Sutapa and Prishni. And so many of them, these couples, they had this desire to have the Lord as a child. So here Karada Muni also having a parental affection, wanting to express that parental affection as a father to the Supreme Lord, is requesting for this arrangement of being married and living a family life so that he can serve the Lord as a father. Or one can see it as simply that he is not yet qualified to be requesting for complete liberation at this time, and he needs to be in a place of strength from which he can start to continue to grow in his Krishna consciousness. Either way, the vulnerability and the honesty of Karada Muni is very instructive for us. It's exemplary that one should and can express their honest position of where they are and what they're desiring in their life that may not be totally aligned with 100% dedication to Krishna consciousness, and then receive guidance from the spiritual preceptor and from Krishna on how to dovetail those material desires in a way that will help them grow in their Krishna consciousness. So this position of not spiritually bypassing, thinking oneself to be higher than what they really are, and being real, like Karada Muni is being really real, for us to be authentic and real of where we are in our spiritual life and then growing from there is essential. Otherwise it becomes spiritual bypassing, inauthentic, and we pretend to be in a higher position than we really are, or a more detached position than we really are. It's not helpful. One last point before I'll open up for any comments or questions is that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this little subtlety. In the previous verse, Karada Muni uses the term Grihameda Dhenum. Dhenum means cow or cow of plenty. So he is asking Samana Shilam. Samana Shilam is like-minded wife. Who can Grihameda Dhenum? She is in the married life, she is the cow who gives him Dharma, Artha, Kama. It is said that one who has a very good wife gets good religiosity, good wealth, and Kama, good sense gratification. So these are the gifts of a very nice wife. The fact that he's calling, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the fact that he's calling her like a cow, or comparing the wife to a cow, which happens often in the Bhagavatam, that he's comparing himself to a bull. And a bull is generally tied by rope and controlled by ropes. Similarly, he also uses the word rope in this verse, today's verse, to indicate that he is bound by the ropes of instructions of Brahma to create progeny. So, that's an interesting subtlety of the word Dhenum in the previous verse and Tantya in this verse. So again, as the concluding message, the main point is that we have to work from a place of strength, we have to work from a place of honesty, we'll start or continue our journey of Krishna consciousness, being vulnerable and real and authentic of where we currently are, and grow from there. Alright, I'll pause this, see if there are any comments or questions. If not, we can end. Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.